Hello everyone, this is Vikram and welcome to my channel. In this video, we will understand how to run Jenkins container on AWS EC2 instances using Terraform. So what we'll do is we'll first create an EC2 instance of T2 medium instance type, and then using the same Terraform configuration, we'll also try to install Jenkins container on that provisioned EC2 instances. But this is not to be used for production environments because we'll not be taking any security related things into consideration while setting up this Jenkins container. So this is just for learning and for your POC things. As a prerequisites, you need to have Terraform CLI installed and also AWS CLI installed and configured with IAM credentials. So I'll leave the link to these two videos in the description. So I already created a GitHub repository with the contents that I'm going to show now. So there are two ways I can run a container. I can run Jenkins, one as a Docker container and the other one as a Linux service. And both of them will use Terraform to actually provision the instance and then run Jenkins. So if you look at the first folder, which is run as Docker container, so these are all the Terraform configurations. So I have main.tf, so which will create an AWS EC2 instance with the AMI. So there is this variables, file. I have reason set to US East 1, AMI. So this is the AMI. I think it is Amazon Linux AMI, and the instance type is T2 medium. And in the main.tf, so I have the AWS instance configuration. So AMI, it will take from the variables instance type. And then I have some tags, the name set to Jenkins master. So since the tag, I've used the tag key as name. So your EC2 instance will be named as Jenkins master. And also I wanted to, also have a key pair resource created so that that key pair will be associated with that instance that I'm going to create. So here using AWS key pair resource, I'm going to create a key pair. So what I'll do is I'll actually generate that key in my local machine, and then I'll upload the public key into AWS, and I'll have the private key with me. Okay, so instead of creating key pair from the management console and then attaching that key to the instance, so we'll directly create that key locally. So how I'm going to do that is, so first I'm going to go into that run as Docker container folder, and then here I'll simply do SSH keys in, and then the name of the file I'm going to use as Jenkins. So within the same directory, so basically it will generate public and private key. You can see here. So Jenkins.pub is the public key and Jenkins is the private key. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload the public key called Jenkins.pub through the file function. And within that AWS instance, I'm referring to that key that I have created. And also I have security groups. Basically Jenkins runs on 8080. This is the UI board, and the external agents will talk to Jenkins master using 50,000 port. And also in order to enable SSH, I also opened port 22 in the ingress rules. And for the egress rules, everything is open. And the security group is named as Jenkins underscore SG. And within main.tf, I am actually using that security group. And now once the EC2 instance is provisioned, so basically I need to install Docker and then run Jenkins as a Docker container. So for that, first I created this shell script. So where it will install Docker using yum package manager, and then it will start and enable Docker to start at the boot time. Then it will create a volume, Docker volume known as Jenkins master home, and then using Docker run, it will start the Jenkins container. So the image I'm going to use is Jenkins/Jenkins:LTS. Okay. And then I'm using the volume that I created and then mapping into var Jenkins home, which is basically Jenkins home directory inside the container. And I'm exposing two ports, 50,000 and 8080 of the container on the host, and restart is set to always because I want to, I want the container to always run. Okay, even if it exists, the a Docker daemon will make sure that it, brings up this container again. And after this, what I have to know is I have to know the initial admin password for the Jenkins, for logging into Jenkins. So usually that will be under the Jenkins home, uh, under secrets folder with a file called initial admin password. So there are two ways you can extract this. So one using Docker exec, which I commented it out. So you can log in into the container and then cat that file. So I'll just uncomment it out and show you. So I can cat that file from the Jenkins home. Okay. Otherwise, since I already used volume mount, okay, so what is the volume that I created is Jenkins master, Jenkins-master-home. So which will be under the my local Jenkins home, which is varlib, which is my local Docker home, which is varlib Docker under volumes, the name of the volume underscore data, and all the contents of Jenkins home will be populated here. So from the secrets directory, I'm going to cat the initial admin password, so which will be usually printed. So once the container is started, I'm waiting for 10 seconds to extract the initial admin password, but you can actually improve this logic in such a way that instead of waiting for 10 seconds, you can actually see whether the container is running or it is still in the creation state. So once it goes into running state, then you can cat the password. So that's the logic you can actually improve. And then in order to actually run this shell script in the EC2 instance that you will be creating, so we'll take the help of provisioners. Okay, so using file provisioner, first what we will do is we'll first copy that file from our local machine into some location in the container, in the EC2 instance. So we'll be copying into home EC2 user. And then using remote exec provisioner, we can execute commands remotely on the EC2 instance. So whatever file we have copied, we are just changing the permissions. So we are enabling the executable permissions and then simply running it with sudo privileges. So once it is done, your Docker will be installed and the container will be started. And in order for your Terraform CLI to connect to this EC2 instance, so it needs a connection. So the connection it is going to choose is SSH connection because it is a Linux VM. And the user is EC2-user because the AMI which I've used is Amazon Linux AMI. And for connecting to that EC2 instance, we need username and also private key. So I'm going to input the private key through file function, and this is the private key that we have generated. And coming to the IP address, so basically it is referring to the same resource through self.public IP, so which will point to the IP address of this particular instance. Now, in order to run this, what we need to do first, we need to do Terraform init to download basically the provider. So I forgot to show the provider. So basically we will be using AWS provider of version 5.21.0, and the provider configuration, I'm setting the profile to be default. That's the AWS CLI profile. Okay, and then reason, it is coming from variables. So in the variables, as a reason, I have set it as US East 1. And also I have the output block, which will simply display the URL. So what is this URL is basically IP colon 8080. How I'm going to extract the IP address of the instances. So it is the instance type, the resource type of Terraform dot the local name dot the public IP of the instance colon 8080. So if you're not sure about how I actually wrote this output block, you definitely have to check my Terraform series where we talked about interpolations, referencing, resource attributes, etc. Okay, so here our Terraform is successfully initialized, which means if you look at the .terraform folder, you'll have the provider downloaded. Now we can do Terraform plan to see what exactly Terraform is going to create. Okay, so this is just like a the execution plan. So Terraform will show you what exact resources it is going to create using this configurations under this folder. So while it creates the Terraform plan, so let me also show you the contents of this run as Linux. So so all the other configurations remains the same, but the thing here is, so instead of installing Docker and then running Jenkins as a Docker container, so here I am running as a system D service. So for this, I need to install Java 17, and then I have to download the Jenkins repo and then use yum install Jenkins to install Jenkins, and then use systemctl enable hyphen hyphen now to start Jenkins at the same time, to enable it to start at the boot time. And again, what I'm doing is I'm waiting for 10 seconds, and then I'm extracting the initial admin password. Okay, so basically for the containerized based deployments, inside the container, Jenkins home will be var Jenkins underscore home. But in case if you're running it as a service, it will be var lib Jenkins. So this is the Jenkins home. So that is the only difference, right? So now, basically our Terraform plan is successful, where it will show you all the resources it is going to create. It is going to create, AWS underscore instance and the key pair resource, and then security group. That's it. Okay. Now what we'll do is we'll apply this configuration. So Terraform apply hyphen auto approve. So once you approve this automatically, first your instance will be created, and after that, using provisioners, it is going to install Docker and then start Jenkins as Docker container. So now you can see AWS keeper resource is created, and then security groups are getting created. After that, your Jenkins instance will be created. So this is the dependency order, because your instance depends on key pair and security group. So those resources will be created first. Okay, now you can see it is executing the provisioners. So first is the file provisioner. Basically, it will copy the file, and then it is now executing the shell script. So it is trying to install Docker, and then once it is done, it will start the Docker container. So it is still installing Docker and all the dependencies required. Okay. So I think now it is installing RUNC rank, that is the container runtime, container D, and now it is actually installing the core Docker. Okay, it is completed. Now it is trying to start the container. So the container image is pulled. Now it is being extracted. So all the layers will be pulled and extracted. So it is downloaded. Now it is time to start the Docker. So this is the Docker, basically the container ID. Okay, so it is waiting for the container to start. Basically, in our shell script, we asked it to sleep for 10 seconds. Now it printed the initial admin password. This is the admin password. Okay, so let's copy the admin password. And now you can also see our instance IP is printed, colon 8080. So that's the port number using which we can access Jenkins, and through security groups, which is already, uh, basically open. So let's paste the IP and the port number. Now you can see it is asking for the initial admin password, which is already printed. So let's copy from here and then paste it. Continue. Install the suggested plugins. So we can start with creating the initial admin user. So admin. So I can set my own preferred password. And then the email address, some email address. Save and continue. Let's click on save and finish. Jenkins is ready. You can now start using Jenkins. So this is how you can set up Jenkins on AWS EC2 using Terraform. But as we already discussed, so this is only for POC and learning, because we did not follow any security related configurations in order to set up this Jenkins securely inside any VPC. Okay. Now, in order to destroy, so once you are done, you can basically destroy this whole setup using Terraform. Destroy hyphen auto approve. So if you don't use auto approve, so Terraform will prompt you to enter yes to proceed with the operation. Okay. So once you do Terraform destroy, so the entire infrastructure will be destroyed, which means we have created EC2 instance a keeper and security group. So all these three resources will be destroyed. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.